What's up, Internet? Iron Jordan here. Today, we're going to talk about the hottest topic on the discussion page, which is the anniversary bots and the reprints located within. So, what is an anniversary bots? Well, Bandai does this every year now on the yearly anniversary of the game. Self explanatory. They come out with a bunch of new cards. Last year, they did some reprints. This year, they're going to do some reprints as well. And it's all that people are talking about. So, we're going to do the same. This is going to be $60. Comes out on July 17th, 2020. That $60 is USD. Obviously, it says release date may vary by region. Sometimes Europe gets something completely different from us, and other regions, whatever. I'm a US player, so that's what this is going to be covering today. So, what's in the anniversary bots? Well, just like last year, we're going to have half of a playset of new cards. 35 new cards, you'll get half of a playset of the 35 new cards. So last year, what this was, hey, there's some cool stuff for a bunch of different archetypes. Some of them are more meta relevant than the other ones. Like we got like Banisher Fu, or Food Dart Banisher, I'm sorry, in that set. We got this Trunks here, was really good in Pan. But for the most part, we got this cooler that's on the pack here. That's the yellow cooler that can counter. And those actually saw some relevant meta play. But then you'll have a bunch of other cards that are just not good. It's probably what's going to happen this time. But they, keep in mind, are only giving you half of a playset, so they really want you to pay two twice. They want you to buy two of these. They want you to pay $60 twice, so $120 to get firstly just your playset of these cards. Now, if it's anything like the first anniversary box or the second anniversary box, you can just wait. And if you really just only want the new cards, you can just buy those as singles, and you can buy them all for. I mean, I think the first year I bought all the new cards, a playset of all the new cards for $40, something like that. I skipped buying a box. Now, obviously, last time I bought a box, so but we'll move on. It's also going to come with this pack here, which is 5 random of the foil new cards and 1 leader. So hopefully that means that unlike, you're going to get 2 of these packs, so you get 10 foil cards and the new leader, I guess, twice. Hopefully the leader is guaranteed this time, because last time Toa was not guaranteed. She was very hard to get. She was 1 per case, especially since she became one of the best decks in the format for a while there. It was very difficult to get your hands on a Toa if you needed one. So hopefully Bandai learned their lesson, and they'll slide a leader in every pack, or they'll slide a leader in every box, essentially, so you make sure that you get your leader. Next, we have the Vault Power Up Pack. So we get 4 of these. There are 16 total cards in these Power Up Packs. One of them will be a foil, and 3 of them will be non-foil. These are going to be reprints that we'll talk about later. There's a little bit of an issue with these last time because it's very difficult to get your hands on a lot of the foils. However, people that ponied up enough or traded enough were able to get most of what they wanted. The picks from last time were, for the most part, really good. But unfortunately, reprints are actually needed this time around. Like this time last year, reprints were not actually needed. They weren't any needed reprints. They put like Foreseeing Hit and stuff like that. It was cool to get these really good cards. Saying Kaba as a reprint, Sensubin as a reprint, but these cards did not need reprints. We were not in dire need for these cards to be reprinted. So you get 4 packs of those, so you get 16 total reprints, and then you'll get 1 pack of sleeves, which will be a random design out of the 4 designs that they're designing. So obviously you'll get the box for storage, which is whatever. But let's go ahead and jump into these reprints and why most people are disappointed. So, as we already said, each pack will come with 4 reprints total, 3 non-foils and 1 foil. They will be alternate art versions of all of the cards that I'm about to show you. All of the reprints have already been spoiled. There's only 20 reprints, which is actually, I think, a little less than last year's was. But there's only 20. Everything here is final. It's what they've shown, and there aren't any extras. There's going to be some question marks, but we'll cover that in a second. Starting with red, we've got Further Destruction Champa, Familial Bonds, and Topo Righteous Aid. So, as I said before, the question marks are here to represent the alternate arts. You're not going to be getting the regular art versions of these, you'll be getting alternate arts of these cards. And I'll be honest with you, I think Further Destruction Champa is fine here in the spot. I don't think it's obviously not a desperate need for reprints. If you go to your local game store, veteran players will just hand you Champas if you need them. I think that Topo is a good grab for this. Um, it's a very meta defining card. It is really kind of busted as a 2 mana extra turn spell in most cases, and really probably should be hit, honestly, if we're talking about the power level of the card. But seeing as they're reprinting it, they're probably not going to hit it anytime soon. And then Familial Bonds, which just straight up should not be here. That's a common from set 7, which is a relatively recent set. Has no business being here. I don't care if it's an alternate art. This card does not belong here at all. This should have been Vegeta Exploiting Weakness, and that's just what it should have been. This is why people are upset. Draftbots 4 is the poison of this game. It is hyper competitive cards that are way too expensive for multiple reasons. They were short printed, the pull rates were bad, and it's just insane that they looked here and they said, well, we'll throw Topo in here, but we're not going to throw Vegeta Exploiting Weakness. Now, I know what you're about to say, for those of you who defend this practice. Well, they're probably just saving those reprints for next time. Well, that may be true, but it's also just wrong. It's wrong of Bandai to do. I'm not saying you're wrong in assuming that. You're actually probably correct in assuming that that's what Bandai is going to do, is save these other reprints for later. But it's wrong to do your player base like this. As we go down, you'll continue to see that the Draftbots 4 reprints are just not what they needed to be. Even just 2 more SRs from Draftbots 4 that were, needed, either of the apes, Piccolo Simulated Ability, Exploiting Weakness, whatever. Just 2 of those cards. The Zamasu engine, whatever. Would have made this a much more worth it product. So, red, Topo's great. Other than that, not so great. Blue. This is just mind-boggling. Awaiting Talent Pan again, I think this hits the same spot that Further Destruction Champa does. Maybe a little bit better of a reprint than Champa, because this is from a theme booster. Card is still relatively cheap. I think last time I checked, Pan was like $2. Don't know how much she is now. Haven't looked in a while, but this card did not desperately need a reprint. It is fine to be in here. And again, this is one of those things where, look, down here we have Ultra Instinct Sun Goku the Unstoppable. What this honestly should have been is that this should have been, each color should have gotten 2 slam dunk reprints and 1 okay reprint like this Pan. Like, again, if this is exploiting weakness, then red's a slam dunk, because you have 2 really great reprints and then 1 reprint that, like, okay, I can live with that, I can live without it, doesn't matter. Comrades Combined down here, this is trash. Why is this here? It probably plays into the archetype that they're going to print support for in this set, but there's no reason why this card needs a reprint and no reason why it needs an alternate art. This is absolutely insane. Again, Ultra Instinct Sun Goku the Unstoppable, good card, needed to be reprinted. So there's 1 good reprint in blue, 1 good reprint in red. So far out of 6 reprints, 2 of them have been good, 2 of them have been questionable, and 2 of them have been, why is this even in here? Let's go to green. This baffles me. And this isn't even the worst color for the reprints, but this baffles me. Preemptive Strike, again, same thing as Pan, same thing as Champa. This is an okay reprint. This is like whatever. I don't need more copies of this card. Most people do not need more copies of this card. It's pennies online, maybe 50 cents online. Who knows? It's an uncommon from a theme booster. Doesn't need to be reprinted. I mean, I guess it's whatever, but if these 2 cards were good reprints, then we wouldn't be having this discussion. If this was the Zamasu and this was the Piccolo, then we're having a different discussion. Or if this is a Zamasu / Piccolo and this is Paradis, which is a super combo that actually needs a reprint, like, Hellas has fallen out a lot, because Beerus was very good for a very short amount of time before Surge Leaders came out, and that's when the super combo was expensive. Super combo is not really expensive anymore. A lot of people are not playing Beerus anymore, because why would you play Beerus when you play Surge Crew if you're going to play the same archetype? It's just, it boggles the mind that this is not Paradis and that this is not one of those other 2 cards like Zamasu or Goku Black. One of those Draftbots cards is expensive. Even Android 17, the Super 17 would have been really good. The SR slot, Piccolo here. The green reprints are bad. This is the only one that's like okay, it's like whatever, but the rest of these are just bad. Like this is a very good card for Shenron if you're playing green Shenron, but even then, we don't need another reprint of this card. This card's already been reprinted. We don't need it. This card's cheap. We don't need it. This is you can see where we're starting to have our problem here. Go down to yellow and you get the most mind-boggling thing. They said, "Hey man, we need Bardock Ape reprinted. We need Bardock Ape reprinted. We just need to reprint it. There you go. Here's your Wheel of Iron. This card's like 50 cents. This card's been reprinted 3 times. It's got a Judge promo. It's got regular art. It's got like, I mean, come on, man. This card is disgusting. Like in this spot, this is a slap in the face, honestly, to the player base. This should have been Saiyan Instincts. This should have been Rare's Warcry. Mutaido, this is fine. Again, this is the slot like Champa. This is the slot like Pan. This card's fine here getting reprinted. I actually think Mutaido was like $10, $12 before this got announced. I haven't looked at this price since it got announced, but this card's fine in the slot. But that's the only one. Why does Planet Vegeta need an alternate or a reprint? It's a uncommon from set 3. I think these are going for like $1 foil on TCG Player. I just bought a bunch of them foil not too long ago. This card doesn't need to be here. This card certainly does not need to be here. Again, they're probably doing this archetype thing where they printed some support for this, so we'll probably get a Bardock that is able to be played cheap, so you can play this. But this is just dumb. Bandai, like, why? Again, you have so many yellow cards in the draft box that need to be reprinted. Just go ahead and reprint them here. Like, again, literally only one more. If you print one more SR in this color from the draft bots, one SR from this color in the draft bots, and then put its play weakness up here, and it's perfect. Black's fine, honestly. The black cards are good. Like Mirror, like Creator Absorb is not hyper expensive, but it's still a really good card. So getting an alternate art of that is like totally understandable. Vegeta Time Regulator is a card that has needed a reprint like in the past, and it still I guess could kind of use a reprint. It makes black decks like 1,000 times better. It's just a very good card, so reprinting that is fine. Like black is fine, honestly. It's a good card. Like Mirror from the Skies would have been good here though. But this is fine. Honestly, I have no complaints with black. It's just that yellow and green are so mind-boggling, and then this card like has no business being here whatsoever. Like this is a card from the first Hero expansion, guys. This is a card from the first Hero expansion. And they put it in the anniversary box as a reprint, alternate art, and they're not even going to print the Vegeta that goes with it. To be fair, the Vegeta that goes with it is really bad now because of power creep, but still. It just boggles the mind. And like the multicolored reprints are good, actually. Like this card's good. This Bojack is good, and it's probably the better reprint option than the Goku Vegeta from the Dropbox 4. This card is good. This card is very good. This card is good, and this card is good. The multicolored and the black cards are fine, but they just messed up here by not putting an ape in. They messed up here by not putting Piccolo or the Super 17 in. And I mean, like, come on. Like, actually, in fact, just put either of the two apes, either put Raiders Warcry or Saiyan Instincts in here, and then put Piccolo or the Super 17 or anything of the Zamasu engine from Dropbox 4, put it in here, and this is 1,000 times better. Also, make this Paragus. This is non-negotiable. Make this Paragus. That card's insanely valuable for no reason other than the fact that like it was a starter deck card that became a hyper staple, and it was kind of short printed because set 6 is where they had their print run issue. So, I mean, this is the problem, Bandai. You have a set that, first of all, should never have been constructed legal. I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. Go out on a limb and say that right now. That you have a draft bot set that should have never been constructed legal to begin with because it is a draft bot set and you knew you were doing a limited run. You short printed it. You made the pull ratios terrible. Those cards ended up becoming meta defining, and now you're waiting this long to even reprint one of the expensive SRs. One of the expensive SRs. Two of the expensive cards from Dropbox 4. These multicolored cards are like, kind of expensive. I mean, I think this was like 15 at one point. This one up to 40 at one point, but it was all hype. For the most part, these are like, I want to say these are all under $20. Which again, I mean, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. Everything from the black reprints down is fantastic. I think this is great, honestly. But when you're talking about both of those apes being so necessary for competitive play. Same thing for the Zamasu engine. Same thing for exploiting weakness. All these other cards that needed to be reprinted and are starving the market right now. We're not even getting into the fact that somebody bought out the Great Ape Goku, the Saiyan Instincts, the day before these reprints were announced. Like, come on, Bandai, use some sense, please. The player base is begging you. There's no reason why our hyper competitive decks should be more than Magic by a lot. We went through it. One of the Hill brothers had a almost $1,100 deck, $1,200 deck at the Las Vegas regional. $1,200. That's insane. That's modern value. And Dragon Ball is not modern. Dragon Ball is not modern in Magic, where you can actually resell your cards. This game will die one day, probably, especially at the rate where this is going. I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually seriously considering just not buying it. Just not buying this stuff. Like, why would I pay $120? Because that's what I would do. Why would I pay $120 for a playset of kind of okay cards, probably over here, a couple of foils of those kind of okay cards, and a leader, and then like a shot at some okay reprints? Why would I do that when I can just wait maybe a few weeks and then let these cards drop in value when they, inevitably do, pick up the stuff that I want for my decks, and then move on, call it a day? This is bad. It's bad, Bandai. This is bad. It's not as bad as DraftBots 4, but it's bad because of DraftBots 4. Well, we're going to quit ranting now. This video has gone on long enough, and it's been mostly just me yelling at my computer. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Try to contribute something relevant to the conversation. Don't just go yelling about value of cards that you own, that you care about. Like, guys, it's a card game. If you are playing this card game to make money, you're in it for the wrong reasons. This is a hobby. You're not supposed to make money off your hobby. It's supposed to be a bonus. Just because you were able to read the meta and get in, just because I was able to get some of these cards that I wanted before DraftBots got crazy expensive, doesn't mean everybody did. So take that for what you will. We're done here. I hope you guys have a good one.